it seems that no matter where I go or how far I'm gone away from it, when I go back to some of the Facebook group pages, mostly like, let's say, the Masters of the Universe fans page, which used to be known as Masters of the Universe Collectors or whatever it was called, basically I seem to see somebody mentioning something a little bit more different, whether it's in a comment or it's a headline or it's an article they want to share or whatever. And one person, believe it or not, commented on basically what is basically looked like as a meme. You see, the meme basically shows Filmation He-Man in his "I've got the power" pose after he, basically becomes He-Man. And it says above, He-Man protected Castle Grayskull for over 200 episodes. And then right below, they show an image of Teela and Andrea, I think, and it says, Teela guarded the castle for 5 episodes, and Skeletor became Master of the Universe. Basically saying in a jokingly way, yeah, you focused on Teela for what reason? They're trying to lighten the mood a little bit, but lighten it to a point that, they're trying to, kind of convey what everybody is saying. It's like, why would you want to replace He-Man with Teela, a character that protected the castle for 200 episodes in the series that this is supposed to be, Revelation that is supposed to be a direct sequel of? Why would you replace him with somebody who, after 5 episodes only, allowed Skeletor to become Master of the Universe? To them it just didn't make sense. But then somebody said something in the comments. And somebody said, don't blame Teela, blame the writers who wrote this crap. And you know what? They do have a point. Because even though we can blame Kevin Smith, who's wrote the first episode and co-wrote or kind of supervised in writing some of the others, even though we can blame him, there are many others that take the blame, mostly the creative writing team. Kevin Smith easily, we all know this is true, Kevin Smith could have easily, with all the power he was given, all the control he was given, with the exception of talking and working things out with Ted Biaselli and Robert Davids, mostly Ted Biaselli, we know that Kevin Smith could have easily stepped in and made sure none of what was going to happen occurred. He could have made sure of that, but he didn't. We know that Kevin Smith is the kind of guy, according to those that have worked with him, who are surprised at the direction he's taken with this, have said that he's the kind of guy that basically will look things up. He will research things. He will research characters. He'll look up the lore and all that before he tackles on a project. This is the same guy, according to someone like Chris Gore, that did not like what happened with Superman at one point, and did not like what happened with Star Wars and stuff, and yet here he is doing exactly what happened with Star Wars, with Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy did with Star Wars, mostly The Last Jedi. So a lot of people know that Kevin Smith could have basically stepped in and said, we're not doing it this way, we're going to do it the way the fans expect, and that's it. But that never happened. And yet the writers were allowed to write the stories as we see them. Now look, again, do the writers, the creative writing team, take all the blame? No. The people that basically promoted and sold us a bunch of malarkey on what the show was going to be, and it wasn't, take most of the blame. But the screenwriters, the creative writing team, I should say, the ones that wrote the script, the scripts for each of the 5 episodes, besides the first, which Kevin Smith did, but a majority of those that wrote the other scripts with, like I say, Kevin Smith's help or supervision, they do share the blame. Because they know better than anything that if they're working with somebody or a couple of people, 2 out of the 3 at least, that are major old school OG Master of the Universe Filmation fans, which is, again, like I said, it's supposed to be a direct sequel of, they would know that basically this is not, or, well, they wouldn't know. Let me correct myself in saying this. They wouldn't know, but at least you would think, them being told this is going to be a direct sequel. These are the guys that grew up just like with everybody else on the originals. You think some of those writers would go up to them and say, hey, is this how Teela's supposed to be? Is this how Duncan's supposed to be treated? Is this how King Randor, is supposed to act? This and that. You think they would ask questions, but they don't. Or they didn't. And what we ended up getting was a result of them probably not stepping up and asking those questions. I mean, honestly, if I was on a writing team, the first thing I would ask, if I was on that writing team, the first thing I would ask is, I would ask Kevin Smith, I would ask Ted Biaselli, I would ask Robert David, I would say, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because, hey, I grew up on the same show you guys did, and I never remember Teela being like this, or I never, remember Evil Lynn being like this. I would point things out to them. Heck, if I'm a writer on the team, and I might be new to the franchise, anybody knows that a writer, before they write the script, if they're thinking straight enough, they're thinking clearly enough, they will research what the characters they're writing about or they're writing stories about are about. They will research about the lore. They will look up the background. And I'm hoping some of these people did, and I'm hoping that some of them asked questions, about whether or not this is the right way to go. And if they didn't, well, like I said, that creative team, not majority of them, but that creative team in some shape or form do deserve to take the blame. I mean, yeah, Kevin Smith and Ted Biaselli, Netflix, and all of them, yeah, they're easy targets. There's no doubt that they're easy targets to hit, if you will, when it comes to putting the blame on people. But here's the thing. It's like we've said before. All they had to do was be honest with us. All they had to do is be straightforward with us. But they weren't. Like I said in one of my previous videos earlier, what they did is they sold us on what we wanted to hear and what we wanted to see. And in the end, we ended up getting something that wasn't exactly what they were selling us on. And, that basically makes them an easy target to blame. But yeah, does the creative writing team need to share the blame for the way Revelation turned out? Absolutely. Because if you're writing for a show like this, and a show that's supposed to be like a classic, not classic, but a direct sequel to a classic from the 80s or the 90s, or even the early 2000s, that fans have been hoping to see get some kind of closure, if you're going to write for that kind of a series, don't you think it would be smart enough on your part to either research on who you're writing and what you're writing for, and maybe even after the research, ask the people that are supposed to be OG fans or supposed to be representing us if this is exactly what needs to happen or this is exactly what they want because, from what you've researched and looked up, that doesn't match up? Don't you think maybe it would have been smart on their part to do that? I think so. I really do. And that's why the creative team, in a way, has to share the blame. It's like I said in one video, Kevin Smith is pointing the finger towards Ted Biaselli, and basically in some interviews where he backtracks and then sometimes forward tracks, but mostly backtracks, he's basically saying it was Ted Biaselli that was asking all these questions of, can we do this? Can we do that? Da-da-da-da. You know what? If I'm Kevin Smith and I'm this creative writing team, like I said, I would have done some research. I would have looked into the lore. I would have looked things up. I would have made sure everything was accounted for. And then if Ted Biaselli comes up to me and asks me if we could do this and that, I could take him aside and say, are you sure you want to do that? Because that's not going to work out in the end. That's going to hurt us. And guess what? It's doing exactly that. But, you know, the creative writing team does need to take some of the blame. They really do. Not entirely, but some of them. Because like I said, any creative team, writing or artistic, will ask questions or they will research to make sure they write the characters the way people are expecting them, or they draw the characters, you know, as closely to what, you know, they're looking up and researching. You know, that's what they do. But we didn't get that here. So yeah, the creative team, they do need to take some of the blame. Not all of it. The creative writing team, I should say, do need to take some of the blame, but not all of it. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think the creative writing team should share the blame along with Smith and Biaselli and all the rest that have been called out for this? Or do you think maybe the creative writing team shouldn't take the blame? Let me know down below in the comments, as well in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, and I am out.